The bottom bracket on a bicycle is this short shaft and bearing assembly here at the bicycle's lowest part in the frame, closest to the ground. In this video I'm going to take it apart and show you what's inside. I'm gonna clean everything, re-grease everything and reassemble everything, but in the video I'll just take it apart because it's easier to take things apart, takes a lot faster. I have already pre-loosened some components. Let's get going. This being a square tapered shaft for the bottom bracket. It has a lock nut. I'll show you. This shape of a nut is what this flanged nut is what's on it that I removed from the other side. They are textured around the edge to interlock with the rest of the components, and they remove with a 14mm socket is what this usually calls for. So I have loosened this, so it's very easy to thread it out. The next tool that's needed looks like this. It's a bottom bracket remover tool. It has a cup, or this external part, which needs to be threaded into the crank arm hereabouts. It's a fine thread on it, so take your time to make sure it threads in correctly. Thereabouts. And this handle is just dangling in there. Of course, if it's difficult because there's dirt on the threads, you can turn it in, moving this wrench forward to the black outer part. In this case it's black. Then the inner part spins forward like so, and this inner part is going to pry off the crank arm. You need to move this arm forward, and it needs about a turn, one full turn thereabouts, to completely there, to loosen it thereabouts. So I'll show you how these two again interact. I'm going to take out the tool from the crank arm. This completely came off, so there's the square hole in it. No surprises there. Standard 1980s technology or so. Here is now the cup part, the outer part and the inner part ended up at these lengths. So first you're moving the outer part forward into the crank arm. If you have to, you can put the wrench on it and do it like so. And then you have to move the inner part forward. Of course it's going to stop at a point, and then you have to move it forward about a turn or a turn and a half, and then the pedal pulls off the tapered shaft. I have loosened the other side, so it was just dangling there and it just comes off like so. Bippity boppity, done. Next, I'm going to take you off the tripod temporarily to show you one detail here. This bottom bracket has this flat side. This is a cup in which there are bearing balls. So as you pull it out, eventually all the balls are probably dry and they're all gonna drop to the ground. So you might want to put a catch sheet or something that catches all the components. And on the other side here, things look like this. There is a big serrated lock ring like this, which has an outer side, and there's an inner side. I'm gonna put a slip joint pliers on the serrated lock ring, and I'm gonna take it off that way. I could have, let me just grab it. This bicycle tool, this one looking like it, This one interlocks with it. This also works, but usually I expect it to be maybe not seized, but I need a little longer leverage and I need a firm grip. So I'm gonna size it up, pipe wrench, whatever at this point, and grab the edges of this lock ring with some firm pressure. Yeah, just I'm moving it a little bit back and forth both ways to loosen it up a little bit. You saw it for a fraction of a second there. It's coming out. So this is just a ring, no issues there, and it comes off like so. So this tool in theory could interact with it, but it's such a small surface, I don't like it. Next, of course, is, and this is going to be critical for properly setting the distance, this threaded component should move forward and whatever, but if it doesn't, it's going to need a little convincing. So this threaded component is helping reduce the friction. Right now this bottom bracket is outrageously, it's very nearly seized up, it's grinding, crunchy, very nearly seized up. Okay, so this part goes all the way in, hitting the frame, so that's this side of the bracket, but the distance here needs to be set correctly with this threaded component so that it's just right when the bearing, the balls, the cups and everything is clean, so that it neither has play in it nor is it binding like right now. So this is absolutely atrocious, and it doesn't matter which side of, whether it's this side is taken apart, whatever, the whole thing needs to be taken apart. So I'm going to try to do it with this biggie crescent wrench or adjustable wrench. See if it's big enough. Yeah, let's see, one more time. Yeah, the jaw opening, okay, is just barely big enough on this. Okay, and because I like the nice long leverage on this thing, there. So obviously it comes out this way. I knew one side is going to be rotated or threaded the opposite way. Obviously it's this side. And at this point it's loose, so I loosen the side that is the non-adjustable size. Sorry, that's the non-adjustable side, but the size or distance between the two of them will be adjusted with this. But this side was just easier to grab, and you can see now there's this amount of play in it, which is, now it's not binding, but of course it's still filthy inside, and assembly, removal continues. I'm gonna need a biggie cookie tray, which is somewhere here. I'll find it. Okay. I'm gonna go with this one for catching the components that come out of this. Sorry, other way around. It's a fine thread. Make sure you don't cross thread it when you put it together. Yeah, so that's how this looks like. Have a look, see. So those are the components involved. greasy and everything. And the other side also has to come out. There's also, if you look carefully, some of the bearing bolts now are resting on the edge of the frame. I'm gonna take you off the tripod yet again. There, this is from the opposite side. So all of these need to be contained somehow into this whatever aluminum tray or aluminium tray, and of course this side needs to be, now that it's unloaded, it's easy to rotate it. Yeah, it needs to be removed. So removal is almost complete. Everything needs to be cleaned and then re-greased, and then it's good to go again.